together. So please, next is Sophia's Angels.
Hello, everyone. Wow. I'm so proud to be here amongst you, healers in medical clothing. You are healers because you have the answers to the questions that this mama needs, for the next mama who needs, for that child who has a need and a want. The denials are terrible. The life is big. I remember when I was told I was pregnant, I prepared for the day she was going to be born, because I knew I was going to have a girl. That first breath, wow. Then you're told your child is going to die. And there's no way to prepare for that, but you have to prepare. You have to prepare for that last breath, right? Sophia's Angels started in 2005, because that's when Sophia left. But in 2004, she was diagnosed with refractory leukemia, which means that she was destined to die. She had a 3% chance of survival, and she fought. And this mama fought. I knew there was more that I could do. There was aromatherapy, there's reflexology, there's visualization, there's massage, there's all these things that are out there to heal the spirit of that child. You doctors, you nurses, you're treating the diagnosis. We parents are treating the symptoms associated with the therapies of the diagnoses. What do we do? How do we handle this? How do I handle the fevers? How do I handle, oh my God, amphotericin, oh my God, ampho terrible. How many know that about that? Through the techniques that we found that Sophia allowed me to play with her, we were able to curb the ongoing fever of ampho through massage, aromatherapy, reflexology. But kids are resilient. Kids are so resilient that when you give them 6 months to live, they live another year. So the rules and regulations of the 6 month are out the door when it comes to children. The website at CCS or any organization is flawed in that it hasn't been updated since 2000, since I was there. I've met with all the teams of CCS. Guess what? They know that the gaps exist in coverage. They know that there's an obsolete website, yet why not fix it? So this mama here, I stand before you as I stand before many politicians, and I say, I'm here. It was my daughter who died, but it's children who keep dying today. They keep dying today because of fiscal issues. Fiscal. I'm the mama. You guys are the leaders in care for the children because you have the answers to the questions the best you possibly can. Thus again, the healers in the medical clothing. Then we have our politicians, because here is my Sophie. My Sophie was amazing. She was a special individual with a learning disability who needed to know how to heal herself from inside out with simplicity. So that's what I had to do. I found copies of actual cells, and I said, this is the cell. This is the cell that eats the cancer. This is the cell that blows up the cancer cells. This is the cell that eats them like a Pac-Man. This is what the cell looks like when it has cancer. Mija, can you see it? Now, can you see this eating all the cancer? Yes. Can you see this cell melting all the cancer? Close your eyes. Can you see it? Can you see this cell that blows up the cancer? Can you see it? Now imagine it pops up. Millions and millions of them pop up, and they are your warriors, and they're going to fight for you. So I want you to close your eyes and see them popping up. And I want you to say, charge, because who's in charge of you? I am. Then say, charge. And she said, charge. Sophia lived a year and 1 week after her diagnosis because we strove life. We looked at life because there is life until there is none. None. So here's my Sophie. Here we are. She lived through 4 chemotherapies. She was melting from inside out, and she survived, and she went home. She went home for Christmas for 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks, and we lived it big. We went to the beach. She had parties. She just was so excited. April 11th, Easter Sunday, she was born. She left on the eve of Yom Kippur. On October 14th, 2005. When it came down to the time that she was going to have to leave this world, money was a factor because we owned our own business. We ran a coffee shop, a community spot, music, poetry, fun, because that's our life. And that was Sophie's life. She was the hostess with the mostest. But here she is. She's going to heaven. And I need to take her home, but my husband, he was working and lost his insurance. We had private insurance. We went in there. All of you know that when you go into the hospital with your private insurance, they go ahead and qualify to see if you qualify for Medical and CCS, just in case you need extras. But with an already known denial, you're in there and you don't care because you got insurance. So at the time she needed it the most, she's dying, but she was living. She was living. And we couldn't take her home. We had a second opinion, I should tell you, from Children's Hospital, from Mattel Children's Hospital. They did the best they could. What a wonderful group of doctors and nurses and staff. Amazing. But they did all they could. So Children's Hospital had a second opinion for her. Doctors read there, he said, oh my God, Mrs. Hartman, she really worked hard to live. Oh yeah, because you don't know Sophie. She's a special individual. She's a cheerleader. Her mom's a cheerleader. We're here. Bring her, Mrs. Hartman, bring her. So we tried to bring her, but no one would pay for the ambulance ride. The nurses that cared for my Sophie said, if I could take her to Children's Hospital right now, I'd do it, Mrs. Hartman. But we couldn't because, as you know, because of concurrent care, palliative issues, hospice, it is complicated, medically complicated, because the child is dying to live. Dying to live. So what did I do? I called all my politicians on the phone that I knew. I said, hey, my mija needs to get out of here. But they're saying no. Medi-Cal says no. Medi-Cal says that I made more than $45,000 a year gross income. This was 2005. This was before the presumptive medical care and all that has occurred since then. But even then, I was part of all of these conversations with different politicians in making these procedures, yet they still didn't see the gap that occurred when a family was with private insurance. They lose it. There's COBRA, there's presumptive that only gives 30 days, and you gotta find insurance because this is long-term care. And what happens if Sophia lived beyond, again, the hospice, the 6 month, it goes out the window. And without a CCS website that's updated, how do you file that appeal? You make calls. What? You mean you need me to fax? You mean you need me to mail? You can't even send it through the internet? Still today. That doesn't make any sense to a dying child. Also, I want you to remember with the coalition that if a child is being harmed in a home, the state is easy to take them away. So why isn't the state supporting the care of a child at the end of their life? That first breath, that last breath, the biggest. That's why you are here. You are here to coddle and love that family through it. My daughter didn't make it. She didn't even, we refused the last bits of medication so that she could be aware because her brothers were on their way. They flew in from everywhere because we couldn't take her home. We had the house cleaned, everybody's getting it just in case. So Sophia wakes up on October 13th. She wakes up real early, my beautiful, beautiful mija. Mom, get up, go. Go now, tell him it's for me. She wanted me to leave to Cobra, to go tell Cobra, who had our money, to file the paperwork and say yes to her so she could go home. So I left her side. I drove to El Segundo, And they wouldn't see me. They wouldn't see this, Mama, it's a corporate office. So I got on my hands and knees to the ground and I begged. I said, this is my daughter's life. All you have to do is authorize it. So they did. So I'm driving home. I get that call from my husband, honey, hurry. They want to DNR her. Do not resuscitate. You have to agree to this. What do you mean? And so I'm praying on the way home. I'm praying on the way home. Please, God, please, Lord, please, angels, because Sophie believed in her angels. She believed in all of you. She believed in anything that was possible. Anything is possible because she's Sophia and I'm her mama, right? So I don't know how I got from here to there, but all of a sudden I got there and we got the approval. So hospice came in. You guys came in, said, we're gonna do this, Miss Hartman. We're gonna do this. We're gonna take Sophia home. All the work it took for you guys to prepare for just one child. The work. I got authorization. Still CCS said no. Still Medical said no. Even though we showed our income because they wanted to qualify the whole family instead of just the child that needed it, right? They didn't, the $45,000 threshold was based on the year prior, not on our actual income at the present moment. Am I correct? The parent, my husband, had to prove that he filed for unemployment just so that CCS and Medical could listen to him so that we can look at our actual income. That's still happening today. So much goes into that family when they should be loving their child to heaven to prepare for that last breath is chaotic, looking for money so that they can bring them home, trying to calm their spirit. The quiet panic becomes loud. You understand that? And that was my purpose for standing, because, you know, my sons, 5 brothers. She was the only girl in my family, in my husband's family, for 50 years. 50 years. Sophia Francesca Hartman, beautiful, stood with her brothers, waiting for her brothers before she died. And they were downstairs. They were pleading, please let us go up. She's dying. We're calling, please come up. And they didn't let her up. They missed saying goodbye to her with minutes. Just minutes. What it did to the personality and the joy and the life to my sons was something to behold. No family should be left with that disappointment, that discouragement, that sadness, that awful that we didn't get to say goodbye because of a fiscal issue. A fiscal issue. So from that point on, I made it my goal that no other parent was gonna stand and beg. No one was gonna get on their knees and beg for this. I'm gonna stand in front of you and say no. We're here. Sophia mattered. You all matter. I applaud the work that you're doing. I applaud it in the highest realms of the vibration of life, because there is life until there is none. The biggest is when there is none. It's so big. It's so loud in the quietness of it all. It's so loud. Am I right? Am I right? It is so loud. So here we go. I have been in front of all these politicians for years. I've been in front of them saying, this exists, this exists, this exists. Look at all the studies. All your studies I gathered, all your studies I put together, I put in front of them. And I said, look, fiscally, this will save the state money. No, Mrs. Hartman, it's just too hard. It's Medi-Cal. I don't care. I believe, Sophia believed, I see that it's done. It's already happened, but here we are today. Aren't we? We're here today. Because what happened is, all of a sudden, from politician to politician to politician, and I worked with a lot of them, we finally got our champion, which was Luz Rivas, who took it. In the process of the negotiations, you've heard many talk about what happened to 847, not knowing that it was Sophia's Act. It's named Sophia's Act. AB 847, Sophia's Act. That's because Her story is strong because this mama before you won't let it end, because there is life in the story for others until there's none. Does that make sense to you? And so here we are, they negotiated, and the portion that I had in there that said that, I'm gonna read it to you, and I gave you all a copy, but I think I should read it to you because what we did was they negotiated and they negotiated and they negotiated and they negotiated it down, and then it went down to Mrs. Hartman, what we're down to is that we need to increase the age of 21 to 26. Are you okay with that, adding it to your bill? Well, why not? I mean, come on. The two gaps I saw were age, and money. 0 to age 26. But right now, our young people, they were young when they were ill. That's why they need the right to have their hospice to the age 26, because sometimes mentally they're not ready for that adult world. And then if you go from children to adult, holy cow, holy moly, oh my God, it's completely different, and that child's spirit will die. That family spirit is in turmoil. And so the joy to get that last breath is now again filled with turmoil, right? So I went in and I said, okay, let's just do it. Let's get a law, but I want that language in there, that intent language, because it took me 18 years to prove the gap exists. 18 years to prove the gap exists. So what we have now is we have an empty bill. We do. We have a bill on the table signed by the governor, who I met. It was his promise to do this, Sophia's Angels. He wasn't the one negotiating, but he was the one who signed. We got to give that to him. Thank you, Mr. Newsom. Okay? But we're not done yet, because without the fiscal support, the age growth is not going to matter, because there's no teeth, administrative teeth to that. There's no teeth to that yet. So that's where we're at. We're at, hey, these kids need this. We need the money, but we need the money with the additional fix so that people don't fall into the gap that have private insurance. Because you know those who have private insurance? They're you and I. We work. We worked hard for our home. We worked hard for our car. We worked hard for our life. And why should we be discouraged from keeping our child life because it's based on money? I applaud the lower income, because that's the way this world is. But $45,000 threshold in today's economy needs to be changed. So this is what we need to change. We need to change the cost of qualifications. So anyway, I wanted to go and give you that thrill. I know that I probably exceeded, but I'm going to go through this here. This is our nonprofit.
So we probably only have about 90 seconds more.
90 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. I'm a nonprofit, and I share coping skills with families who are living long-term in the hospital, which you call palliative care, how to massage, how to do aromatherapy, reflexology, visualization, for which I have the trademark here, and we're getting it in Europe. Then also, I wrote the Lay Mother's Guide for Healing for Every Parent, and that there has a foreword from Stephen Rosen, the Chief Scientific Officer of City of Hope, who believes that every child and parent should have this workbook, this manuscript. And then you have my Sophia's Act, which we went over there, but I remember I want to go ahead and say the user-friendly website. Hey, they can do that right now without law. Okay, let's press that. And then, you know, I just wanted to join my hands with you guys. Put your hands up in the air with me. And you know, everybody, let's just give ourselves a wave, because we're doing such a great job, man. This is amazing. And then I want to let you know that this is me. Hey, hi. I was younger here. And this is my team. This is Team Sophia. And just the 10 seconds left is this, that this was right here outside, because I couldn't take her home, but I had to take her out. She had to have the sun in her eyes and the wind in her face before she went to heaven. And I made it happen. We pushed her out. I didn't care. And then here she is with me as I told her how much I loved her, because this is when she went to heaven. And I share with you that moment because she was beautiful. And I applaud you guys. I clap for this coalition.